Imagine the sound of your own soul, not as a metaphor, but as a literal, physical noise. Within 40 minutes of total silence, the world changes. You begin to hear the blood rushing through your carotid arteries, a rhythmic, thumping drum that you can never turn off. Within an hour, you can hear your lungs expanding and contracting, the sound of air moving like a distant storm through a cave. Within 3 hours, your joints begin to scream. Every time you move a finger, it sounds like a dry branch snapping. But the most terrifying part isn't what you hear. It's what your mind does when it realizes the external world has vanished. This is the architecture of the White Room. It is a weapon designed by the most brilliant minds in intelligence to do something that physical pain never could. It doesn't break your body, it erases your ghost. If you were to walk into this room right now, you would feel an immediate sense of peace. But that peace is a trap. It is the silence of the grave before the haunting begins. As we descend into the hour-by-hour breakdown of the human psyche, I want you to pay attention to the sounds in your own environment right now. The hum of a computer, the distant traffic, the wind. These are the anchors keeping you sane. Now, imagine they are gone. Everything is white. The walls, the floor, the ceiling, the lights that never dim. Even your clothes are white. Your food is white rice on a white plate. There are no shadows. There is no time. There is only you. In the first hour, the subject usually feels a strange sense of novelty. For a high-level spy or a political prisoner, this might even feel like a reprieve from the interrogation room. You sit, you wait, you think about your family, your mission, your secrets. But by hour 3, the boredom begins to mutate. It becomes a physical weight. The human brain is a pattern-seeking machine. It is biologically programmed to process information. When you feed it nothing, it starts to eat itself. This is where the first glitches appear. You might see a flash of color in the corner of your eye, or hear a faint whisper that sounds like your own name. It's your visual and auditory cortex firing at random, desperate to find something to hold on to. If you're finding this exploration of the mind's darkest corners gripping, consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon. We're deep diving into the world of secrets that were never meant to be told, and having you here as part of this community means we can keep uncovering the truth together. By the 12-hour mark, the concept of identity begins to leak. In the White Room, there is no contrast. Because there are no shadows and the lights are always on, you lose the ability to perceive depth. You feel like you are floating in a void of infinite light. This leads to a phenomenon known as Ganzfeld effect. Your brain, deprived of visual data, begins to project its own internal imagery onto the white walls. You aren't just imagining things, you are seeing them with the same clarity as reality. Subjects have reported seeing intricate patterns, historical battles, or the faces of people they haven't thought of in 20 years. The CIA realized that in this state, the line between memory and imagination dissolves. A prisoner can be made to believe a memory is a lie, or a lie is a memory, simply because their brain can no longer tell the difference. Day 2 is when the depatterning truly begins. This is the term used by Dr. Ewan Cameron, a psychiatrist funded by the CIA's MKUltra program. The goal was to reset the human mind, to wipe the slate clean so a new identity could be written over it. In the White Room, this happens naturally. Without the sun rising or setting, your circadian rhythm collapses. You don't know if you've been there for 2 days or 2 weeks. You stop being a person with a history and start being a creature of the present moment. You become desperate for any kind of stimulation. even pain. Prisoners have been known to bite their own arms or bang their heads against the wall just to feel something that isn't white. They crave the sound of a human voice so much that when the interrogator finally speaks, the prisoner views them not as an enemy, but as a savior. This is the interrogation of the soul. It's not about getting you to talk, it's about making you forget why you shouldn't. If you're listening to this and feeling that slight tightening in your chest, that's your empathy, a trait the architects of these rooms sought to exploit. Share this with someone who thinks they could handle isolation. Let's see what they think when they realize that the strongest mind is often the one that breaks the most spectacularly. And tell me in the comments, what is the one memory you would fight to keep if everything else was being erased? What is the anchor of your soul? As the test progresses into the third and fourth days, the psychological collapse is total. This is where the silent room becomes a house of horrors. The hallucinations are no longer just flashes of light. They are full sensory experiences. You might feel insects crawling under your skin. You might smell the scent of a childhood home that no longer exists. But the most disturbing part is the voice. Almost every subject of prolonged sensory deprivation reports hearing a voice that isn't theirs, yet comes from within. It is the sound of the subconscious mind breaking off and becoming a separate entity. In the eyes of the CIA, this was the inner double, the version of the prisoner that was willing to betray the other. By manipulating this internal dialogue through subtle audio cues pumped into the room at low frequencies, they could essentially hack the subject's own thoughts. The White Room isn't just about what they do to you, it's about what you do to yourself. It turns your own mind into your primary interrogator. You begin to question your own motives, your own loyalty, and eventually, your own existence. This is why it's considered more cruel than physical torture. A wound heals. A broken bone knits back together. But a mind that has seen itself dissolve in a white void never quite comes back whole. There is always a piece of that silence that stays with you, a quiet corner of your brain that remembers what it was like to be nothing. When the subjects are finally released, the world is too much. The color of a leaf is painfully bright. The sound of a bird is like a gunshot. The transition back to reality is often more traumatic than the isolation itself, because the subject no longer trusts reality. They've seen how easily it can be replaced. This is the haunting legacy of the CIA's psychological experiments. They proved that we are not the masters of our own consciousness. We are merely guests in a house built of sensory input, and the landlord can evict us whenever they choose. Think about your life for a moment. Think about the noise you complain about, the emails, the social media, the constant chatter of the world. In the context of the silent room, that noise is a gift. It is the glue that holds your personality together. The fear of being alone with one's thoughts is a common human experience, but the silent room test turns that fear into a scientific certainty. It reveals the terrifying truth that without the other, there is no self. We exist only in relation to the world around us. As we conclude this journey into the white void, we're left with a chilling realization. The most powerful surveillance isn't the one that watches your actions from the outside. It's the one that manipulates the very fabric of your perception from the inside. The CIA didn't just want to know what you were thinking. They wanted to control the process of thinking itself. They wanted to turn the human mind into a silent room, where only their voice could be heard. So, the next time you find yourself in a moment of true silence, don't just enjoy it. Pay attention to it. Listen for the hum of your own blood. Feel the weight of your own identity. And remember that somewhere, in the dark history of our world, there were people who had that silence turned into a cage. Stay curious, Stay connected and never take the noise of your life for granted. Because the alternative isn't just quiet, it's the end of you. And that is a door that, once opened, can never truly be shut again. Don't enter the room. Stay here, in the beautiful, messy, noisy reality where you still know exactly who you are. For now.